So welcome, Colin. Thank you for accepting to do this, by the way.
No. Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be on Big Conversations.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. We usually, when we get people who are like hide there,
That's a lie.
we have to tell them so they know.
No. I've been watching Big Conversations.
Nice. Oh, okay.
I've been watching. I follow a little bit. I see some guests. I see stuff on your timeline. I'm like, guys are doing some pretty impressive work.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're trying also. We are trying to set like some sort of pace. Maybe 5 years from now, you guys will be trying to catch up with us.
Do you have 5 years? Because you're already 3 years in the lead of everyone else who's doing something like this. So you see, that's the thing, and I think that's the beauty of what you guys are doing. Because in a world, so think about the world in which we live now, a world where you have, well, pre-pandemic and possibly post-pandemic, you sit in jam for 2 hours. More people are living alone, so that the idea of always having people around you is actually slowly sort of going away. So people are in their house, they want alone time, they want to be able to wash their dishes or iron their clothes and do all the things without necessarily sort of sitting in front of a TV. And that's what the podcast format is great for, because it sort of extended that entire universe, and it's not compressed. So you see, the challenges I found with traditional radio is, again, you must have a frequency. You have to, if you miss the DJ link, you miss the DJ link. True. It's not expandable. You can't pause it and go take a pee break and come back, and you have to carry the radio with you. And I think that what this format does, then it gives you flexibility, it gives you depth, it allows you to talk into issues in an expanded space. You can listen, but then it's there forever, so you can listen to it long after.
No, that's that was my pitch, but
no. But sort of saying, understanding the format, I think that you now see why you have a 3, 4, 5 year advantage.
And I mean, you're putting us now on pressure. We're not yet there, but and I think
I created when you invited me.
I totally get what you mean, and I think like for me, for example, growing up, my father was a radio guy. He's always on CBS. He's in the chickens, picking eggs. There's a radio at the window, right?
Yes.
He's driving to town. It's CBS. Yeah, exactly. And so it's this format that goes away for us when social media comes.
Yes.
Because now most of the stuff requires visual attention. You have to either text or watch. But now I see the trend coming back because
that rise of sort of listening, but also the beauty about it is choice. So the thing about podcasting is I can choose and say, this is the material I like, and you curate that and you list it, and it's arranged for you. And whereas with radio, you don't know, like they're going to talk about something in the news, and oops, all of a sudden they're talking about some uncomfortable things. Oh, but I don't really like that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So those things.
Yeah, no, that's true. Also, that's one of the things we tell. Some of the guests are uncomfortable with the length, so they say, I enjoy having these long conversations, but who's really going to listen to this, right? Because naturally people are used to 30 minutes conversations that are sort of scheduled by the programmer,
yes. Right? Actually, 20 minutes conversations with 10 minutes of ads.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So most of the times, actually, when I'm pitching like this, because besides like the podcast itself, we also hire out our equipment. Yeah. Yes. So when I'm pitching to people who want to start like their podcast, I tell them it's okay to experiment with longer times. And a lot of them are saying, but the program on TV you're trying to do is like this.
But that's a lie, though.
Exactly.
That the lie they tell, because people are hungry. People are hungry for content. So I was explaining to someone. So when I do marketing and you know this, but I come from a 12, 15 year agency background.
Okay.
And this is what we've learned. Advertising agency.
Yeah.
The rate at which there is no agency that can create the number of banners that you need to be consumed at the rate at which today's young people consume social media. The meme is funny for the first 2 hours. I put it in the 2 groups. It's done. Kaka day. You drop it. Yeah. But which brand is going to create that much content? And it tells you this. So for us, sort of seeing that, we're starting to understand that customers have become voracious consumers of content. They consume, they just suck the content. it means that not one brand can answer these questions. But what we need is long form, in depth, where people can actually get immersed, where you can talk about the issues. Again, which is why not the 30 minutes, the 1 hour canned with 15 minutes of ads cannot work.
That's the thing. I used to not like listen to audiobooks. So I'm a very slow reader, but I used to suffer through the reading because again, audiobooks sort of your attention spins off. Until I started listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes. The Joe Rogan podcast can be up to 3 hours.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So if you listen to 2 of those, it's the same amount of time you would have spent listening to one.
Yes.
So yeah, exactly. That's sort of the inspiration I got. I say this is easy. You do most of. I actually do my work. My work is I'm mostly coding, right? But I can code while listening to people talking.
Really?
And then I black out the stuff I don't care about.
You need that background sort of.
Exactly.
It's
the equivalent.
So wait. Someone said something interesting there. You can pause and come back.
And that is the power that also podcasting gives you. Is besides radio, is
Joe Rogan is what 150 million downloads a month, 1.5 billion downloads, listens a year.
Each episode gets between. So he does, I think, about 24 48 hours before he releases a new episode.
He does a trailer. Oh, he does every 48 hours.
Yeah, so between 24 48. Sometimes he does, 2 in a day. But each episode before the other one comes, it has had already 8 million views before the next one. So the views expand over time. He's literally, he has more attention than CNN.
But do you understand? So and this is also part of what I wanted to speak into about the format. Is it just has compressed, it sort of melted all the borders. It's condensed attention. So you tell me before Joe Rogan, where were you going to find 150 million people to listen, to download, to follow your content? Like it's unprecedented, but it's in a way, whatever color, race, language, whatever you do, sort of, if Joe Rogan's your guy, if he's speaking something that aligns with you, you are aligned, and that's fine, and that's okay, and you sit there. And I think that's what's changing about the world, because a guy can sit in Kampala at Bellwether Apartments and code while he's listening to Joe Rogan talk about UFC.
Exactly. Talk about some weird conspiracy. But that's the thing also, is the freedom, besides the guy listening, the guy speaking, right? So before, if like I don't have like very strong opinions on major things, you guys at DSTV can't give me a show, for example, right? But now, if I feel like what I say is important to me, I can just start broadcasting it, like I even if I'm targeting 2 to 3 people, I can set out my platform, get my mic, and publish on Apple Podcasts. That's also the other kind of freedom that's bringing, sort of decentralizing this whole media thing, and that's also where we worry.
But you, so I think that they're very interesting perspectives. You need the technology to allow every man to speak, to give their opinion, but you also need the control of formal media, because that's how you stop things like the genocide that happened in Rwanda. You have to have that control. But I think more than ever now, I mean, with guys like, I think that the US government should put like a thing and say, Joe Rogan, you should subscribe to the same thing as CNN, because really you reach the same number of audiences, your ideas is just as viral, and you have that influence. But of course, again, which is what I was saying, technology sort of freeing us from the shackles of centralized government and power structures.
I mean, I'm going to slightly disagree on that. I think that the government has to set a list of things that you shouldn't do, right? Actually, no, we have laws already, right? So if you did the shit, like say in Rwanda, inciting violence, that's already a crime.
Yes.
You don't need to tell me how to behave on my media. If I commit the crime, come get me. Come get me. That is, and again, one of the podcasts we had earlier on was with a lawyer called Kenneth Muhanji, and we're talking about QCC's sort of what they were implementing with our social media accounts and YouTube channels and stuff like that. And again, I was like, first of all, this is extremely hard to enforce. but also, is this really the right step? Is this the right step?
So I think my view about those things is you have to always look at the motive. What is the goal in mind? If they achieve this, what would the dream be like? And I think that in many times the dream is questionable. That's why from the very beginning you have questions like, is this really impossible? But even if you were to achieve this, what does that look like? What world does that look like? And I think that that's it's dangerous on two fronts. It's dangerous in terms of liberties and our free thinking, but it's also dangerous because of the demographics of our country. Our country has a very young population.
Yeah.
Guys are very driven, they're very energetic. But, I mean, 1 million young people turn 18. They've been doing this for the last 10 years. They're going to do this until 2030. 1 million young people turn 18 every year.
Shit.
Do you know what that means? Like, just think about that at scale. No jobs, no one. Like, you hear about this stuff and people laugh, but, like, when you tell guys are selling 4 acres in the village to get 4.5 million to come to Kampala and ride the border.
Yeah, no, I see.
So what's going to happen when your smartphone penetration among the telcos moves up to 75% of the market? Because the price of devices is dropping.
Yeah.
And people are just going to say, but you know what? A lot of FM stations just only have music. Right. And a few bigwigs and popular stars who I don't necessarily like. So what are they going to switch to? They're going to switch to the very first guy who's podcasting in Runyankore, or in Luganda, or in Dumasaba, or in Rukonzo. Whatever language they want, if there's a guy who's podcasting, they will learn the technology, because you know what? They taught themselves WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And they taught themselves Messenger. And they learned how to be on Tinder. And they learned how to fleece guys on Tinder. Catfish them, take your money, you send transport money, everything. But they figured out how the technology works.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're going to continue to figure out and make it work for them. So when those guys are here in the city trying to live, they're going to be looking for guys like you.
Yeah,
the guy who's telling stories from back home. No ads.
Yeah, exactly.
No music, no bullshit. Just, guys, I'm just talking about the issues from where we come from.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of that is also the sort of risk, because most of when you go into business, some of the things you worry about as a startup is the big guys are going to come and sort of, if you do a good product, right, the big guys are going to come and just take away your market because they already have sort of the capital to outcompete you. But one of the things that makes sort of us comfortable in this in this podcasting space is the game is diversity, right? So if we can produce many podcasts that are targeting fewer people, right? Say NTV can't create say 100 channels targeting say 1,000 people only, because it wants to cover
hardcore Christian women,
exactly.
hardcore Christian men, guys who are witch doctors, you know, children who don't want to go to church, Pentecostals, Muslim youth. You can't do that for everyone.
Yeah. Except in this format, it's cheap enough for people. If whatever you feel like, you know, if you're hardcore Christian, you can get people like you and look at and just sort of target just those specific people. You know, if you're this and that's also like a beauty of like this form of media.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about now your media, your kind of media.
I knew it was a trap. I should have been warned. Wow.
You know, when I was I used to work at UNICEF earlier, right? And some of the data they provide at UNICEF about knowing how a place is developing, right, is looking using satellite images to see which places are lighting at night. That's one thing, but also which places have iron sheets, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I think, you know, as we go forward, that metric is going to change to which places have those DSTV dishes.
Are you making us a
human
development index metric?
It's when I was growing up also, DSTV was, you know, for the rich people. If you went to your auntie's place and you saw the Kaddish, you just start respecting, okay, these aunties are richer than their siblings, my parents. These were the most serious siblings. But now it's becoming more accessible, right? Is it cable? Is it satellite? What's
So we have it's all satellite. So the DSTV, we have two services at Malchus, Uganda. We've got a satellite service, so the digital satellite TV, which is DSTV. Then we've got Go TV, which is a terrestrial service. It sort of goes from antenna to antenna. So we have a big mast in Kulambiro, and then sort of we bust out, and with your antenna above your house, you can get the signal. Yes.
Oh yeah. So exactly. I think antenna, maybe because now it's digital, but antenna was there
Was
before.
the old one? Yes.
But the satellite thing, more people are starting to.
Well, so yes. So what's happening is we're seeing an uptake for satellite TV. I mean, it's an interesting competitive space because. So back in the day, because not everyone had a TV, so we all used to come to Max and you watch the TV there, you watch the game there. Then people started opening bars, and so I didn't have to have a TV at home, or I could have a shitty service at home, and then I'll just sort of go and say, and it was part of the social gathering, that societal thing about getting together. What has happened, in my view, and what I think is going on, is now people, and this is even before pre-pandemic, people just sort of said, you know what, sometimes I want to watch the game at home. Sometimes, but what we're also seeing, a lot of the drivers for this are for parents wanting their kids to learn to speak a certain way, to see the world in a different perspective. And so then the kid is not always saying Mustafa Yankuye Ginger. Like, that's not. I mean, you want your child to say that, but you also want them to know Tom and Jerry and Paw Patrol, and because it helps children with articulation and accenting, and sort of introducing new words to them, and sort of expanding their universe. So those are some of the things. So that need, but also the prestige. There's prestige of it. So if you live at Bellwether. And you have a small antenna, I guess, like, you really should have a dish, you know.
Even the landlord is one able to make next month's
like, shall we be because you see, that's another thing. And we discount it a lot, but the aspiration of where we want to be. So you see, when you go and you see your auntie's house like that, and it's set up that way, you say, you know what, when I make it, this is sort of how I want to be. You sort of define the universe like that. And I think that's quite interesting for young people. And what that does then is it feeds the growth for the product. So good, but that's all secondary. So there is external factors. So we're talking about the demographics. We talk about rising incomes. You talk about, but I think what's really interesting for us, what we've seen is great content. And great content is, so it's great content in itself is great, but great exclusive content drives sort of. So if you're the only one who has access to the Champions League, or you're the only one who has Formula One, or you're the only one who has, certain golf matches or tennis matches, or, the NBA. It's true, if you sit at home, you can get an NBA pass for them. But then guys like, but you know what? I could actually watch the game. Or stuff like UFC. Because that stuff is actually growing. So we're seeing a rise in the number of people who enjoy wrestling, who enjoy UFC, boxing. But the rise, I guess, and this is, it's like it starts out like a niche, but then they become waves. So the enjoyment of combat sports is something that we're seeing a rise in as well. So to go back and sort of circle back in my long story and answer your question, the growth is, there are external factors, which are, sort of incomes, urbanization, people looking for good quality entertainment, people looking to take care of their kids. But then there's internal factors. The same people who listen to Joe Rogan want to say, because when he reviews a fight, they say, you know what, I want to see what Amanda Nunes did. Exactly. And they want to come back into that and sort of, and be able to relate with the universe, because the interests are no longer limited up to, Wamala, like that's not their universe anymore. So because their universe is bigger, their expectations and desire to see and learn from the world is bigger. And if you're collecting and collating that information and bringing it to people, I think that there's space for growth.
I totally agree. I think one of, for me, the most the good stories was I was flying in, I think, from SA when Mayweather and Pacquiao were fighting. I didn't get a chance to go home. I went to the bar and stayed
until the fight.
Yeah, until morning.
But you know that everyone has one of those 5 a.m. stories. It's either a boxing match, a basketball final, it's an NFL game. It's always those things which are like crazy hours, and guys are like, but like, man, because if I miss this, because you can never be like, you know what, I saw a 100-meter Olympic final. Those are things like you have to see. It's only 10 seconds. You can replay it 100 times.
There's no.
But the guy who sees it first,
the guy who's
you
down,
tell your grandkids, you're like,
Bolt,
guys, I saw Usain Bolt take things down in Beijing.
Yeah. When you're seeing the space, you know, when you see him run, you see the space widening. When you're seeing that line, it's like so much different than, you know, how you could ever see it in a replay or in slow motion or whatever. It's there's that space. There's also the other thing of the local content part, right? So I know I used to when I was, I think, my first year of university, I also tried to do like a film program, with a program called Maisha Film Lab.
Yes. Yeah, and, I know these people. Yeah, really good people.
Yeah, and I think part of what they were pushing then was for DSTV to have a channel where they can show exclusive African films. I know now there's Pearl Magic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you know, like I'm
back then.
Yeah, but back then, and I'm thinking, you know, is there like a vision? Is there something you can share, you guys? Or is it like a secret thing you want to surprise these other guys?
No. So I've got to speak into two things. So that, I mean, it's really great for me to tell that story from here, but I have to come from a bit above. So the multi-choice vision and purpose. We've identified our vision and purpose and articulated it as this. We say that we want to be Africa's greatest storytellers.
Oh, I see.
That's the job. It's a simple vision, it's a simple purpose. We've been doing this business for 25 years. SuperSport is the world's largest sports producer. No one in the world produces more sports than SuperSport. Buys sports, puts together, And because of that, so then our key two drivers for that vision and our differentiators and our comparative advantages in having the world's largest sports collection and having Africa's best stories. Yes? So you come from that sort of big strategic level and say, but what does that mean for me in Uganda? So you then find out that, for example, because we were really sort of like fed up of people saying, but we want Europa because Arsenal is there, we want Europa. So now, this coming season, we're going to introduce Europa.
Okay.
To the bouquet because you get tired of that. But you remember that you already have Ligue 1. Ligue 1. No, you don't have Ligue 1. We have Serie A. We have La Liga. You have the EPL. You have the Champions League. You've got the Turkish League. You've got the MLS, MSL, and now you're adding Europa. Yeah. Because people are about options. They are about options, and they want to follow their teams wherever their teams go.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the sports story and sort of how we build that. But when it comes to the local content story, our focus has been the challenge with African story is it's not always been told by us.
Yeah.
So sometimes and don't get me wrong, sometimes, you know, you need an outside perspective to tell the story, right? Because then you don't tell it with your biases and you don't edit or meet or, you know, what they call.
So
embellish.
I see what you mean, although I feel like Africa, it's mostly the external perspective and our sort of like the...
Yes. But we've also noticed that what happens when you tell your own story is you tell it with the richness and the fullness of that experience.
Yeah. And
that's sort of why we went into local content because Africa is funny. Africa is young. It's diverse. So we launched this channel called Honey TV. It is Africa's. It's our very fast lifestyle. It's the equivalent of E. So Africa's very fast lifestyle channel, full on, and it's shot from across the continent. It's produced. So they find guys in different parts, and so last week we just wrapped up a show for Nadia Matovu, who was representing Ghana on the next big trender. And for me, that was very telling because it was quite exciting to sort of put that together and bring that stuff in. Now, when you talk about local content proper, 3 years ago, we introduced Power Magic, which is sort of our Ugandan channel. At the time, there was a lot of pressure. People kept saying, listen, Kenya has Maisha Magic. These guys have Maisha Magic. Bongo, you have Mzanzi. Like, that stuff is really nice. So when can we get something that's Ugandan? And that's sort of when we said, and arriving at that, the decision was, let's buy some already made content. And so we did that. But the feedback kept coming back. We want to get some really fresh stuff, some high quality content. And so this year in February, we then launched Power Magic Prime, which is in terms of production value, it's the best quality content. Like you could take that stuff and put it in South Africa. You could take it and put it in Nigeria. You can take it anywhere because it's well scripted, it's well acted, it's right on. When we opened out, we had 100 episodes straight up, and now from what we're discussing now, this is a long-running telenovela. It's going to be years. People are going to get hooked, but that's the idea about if it's well shot and people can relate to it, and it has people that you know and places you've been. You're like, I see. So that's sort of where
that's I think that's true. So most of, for example, what you mentioned at first, most of the parents today want their kids to talk a certain way. They introduce them to say Tom and Jerry, and they want them to behave a certain way because when they were in school, its kids were behaving that way.
Who were succeeding.
Exactly.
And they've continued to succeed ahead of your parents.
It's true. I agree. But what I also feel is, because at that point, most of culture and what success in culture was shaped by the Western stories, right?
Yes.
So if
a Western perspective,
exactly. So if DSTV, if you guys double down on the African content, so people can see Katolu Gwama. Okay, I don't know what he does nowadays, but if so people can see like local content. No. I mean, there's Lukman Ali. They're like
so for me, guys like Lukman Ali
are
the representation of. It's the reason why we do what we do, because guys like that, they're self-made, they're self-taught, they are self-funded, and they're telling stories here that are at such a global standard. And for me, that's wow, be cool. And so when you think about, let me tell you a really interesting story. When we commissioned these shows, when we commissioned the Power Magic Prime shows, there wasn't enough talent in the market. There wasn't enough equipment, gear, and I'm just talking tripod, lights, sounds, mics, sound guys, grip guys. There just was a shortage, and we said, but we've only commissioned 4 shows. Now we're opening a movie channel in July. What do you mean? And so we've also realized that it's great to commission the content, but now you have to double down on the training.
Exactly.
Because we need a sponsor. We need the sugar daddy to buy cameras because we. So first of all, this equipment isn't cheap, and this because you guys have this whole gear setup.
Bro, that's true.
So I mean, guys are having to rent cameras. I mean, you find that you want to shoot with an Ari Red or a Black Magic, but you can't, because the cost of, you can hire it for a day, 2 days, but you can't hire it for 100 days because the cost is. So you might as well just buy it. And thinking about it like that, I sort of got into the space where we now realize. Those are the 3 things that we need to fix. We have to fix the training, the talent. We have to fix the technology, so the training, the tech, so gear and equipment. And then the third thing is we've got to put money into the industry, because the output will be shitty. It'll be really shitty at the start, but people will get better. They'll imitate. They'll get feedback. And all of a sudden you find yourself, not all of a sudden, but after a certain period, you find yourself at that place as... I guess in the same territory as in Hollywood.
What role do you think policy plays? For example, I know when Miranaya was shooting a Queen of Katwe, right? She had to shoot almost all the interior scenes in South Africa because she was getting a discount. I think they have like a nice policy to entice filmmakers.
They have a 100% rebate policy. No, not 100%, but they have a very big incentive rebate. So the government of South Africa will give you. if you shoot there and you hire locals, they give you a really huge rebate on the taxes that you pay.
Yeah, and is you guys lobbying, Segirinya now is going to be the new guy. You guys going to lobby Segirinya to move
We're going to lobby through Segirinya?
Yeah, are you guys going to
I guess it's time for an update now.
So these are guys. These are guys you have in parliament. But again, sort of, is there like a proactive initiative?
So obviously the way things work with government is it's a continuous process. You're always engaging. You're always sort of trying to say, listen, we could make this better. We can improve this. We're working with various stakeholders in the business, sort of improve that. But I do want to tell you a really exciting piece of news, which would then be fast broken here. So we were recently invited to sit on the Uganda Communications Commission Content Support Development Program, which is like a seed fund for filmmakers. Oh, okay. And so they put aside some money and they're looking at film projects that they're sort of saying, guys who are interested, can we help these people? Can we help them cross the line and make and sort of and I think that, I mean, if you assume that this is the start, then you start to see that there is actually commitment from the government sort of to speak into this, sort of be part of these stories, to be part of these conversations. And I think that's quite it's a good step. There is work to be done around sort of, incentives to incentivize filmmakers to come here. There is work to be done around intellectual property rights, and I think so listen, like Uganda has 55 tribes. You just take 10 folk songs from every tribe. Yeah. And all of a sudden you have the world's biggest collection of world music. Yeah. Which is what I think that you should take your gear and be doing. Recording tribes doing folk music. And then just pay them, get the rights, and sell that shit. Well,
since you're the guy on the UCC thing, so now I know what you guys are looking for.
But these are my personal ideas. So yes, policy plays a big role, an enabling environment, sort of saying, but there is a very big job to be done also in terms of mindset shifting for parents, because our parents used to say, dancers are never going to be anything, and artists are never going to be anything, and artists are never going to be. So go into the traditional roles, which is how people like you end up in coding.
Yeah, no,
But true. We know now. Yeah. We know that footballers make money, sportsmen make money, entertainers make a gang of cash. Can you imagine just being Kevin Hart's parent and say, "What do you do?" "I tell jokes," Yeah, and that's where you are. True. I mean, like, you can also be like Salvador's parent, and you're like, "What?" I don't even want to finish that because, like, I don't know where this podcast is gonna go.
We're going to touch directly. No, that's true. So
yeah, and so I mean, I like to say to parents, tell your kids to drop out. Oh. Because what, 16 years to get a degree you're never gonna use. Yeah. In a world that pays Conor McGregor $180 million a year to get in an octagon and take the lights out. So there is something that doesn't make sense about what the world is telling us. And I think that we have to be sort of be open and radical about it. Because the guys who work with their hands, craftsmen, guys who make beds and they lay bricks, they've got money every day. Yeah. And it may not be much.
Yeah. And studies even have it that they're more fulfilled.
Yes, they are happy because there is actually something tangible what they do. A border guy who makes 30-50K a day is, 50K a day times 10 is 500K times 3 is, 1.5. That guy is making more money than an intern who's getting 700K.
Not an intern, than a fresh graduate, like entry job.
Yes, 800K. Yeah. So if a border guy is making more money than you, you have no right to look down on him. Yeah. That guy, every day, there's milk at the house. The kids go to school. I take a center Muchivina. He repairs his border every week. He's happy. And when he's tired, he parks his bike and he goes home to sleep. Yes. So think about the dignity of work. Your boss require, they don't even give you the phone. You come with your phone, they put data, they put airtime, and say, if that phone ever goes off, you just never come back here. Paying you 800K, they're slaving you, you work 8 days a week. Like it's madness, but you endure it because you think that that's what the job is. But the job isn't that, because fulfillment is about dignity. It's about so border guy goes up. It's a fisherman, comes, goes out. He might die, he may not die. But if he survives, he comes back with his catch.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna end up home. His wife's gonna be like, "Yo, well done." Yes, well done. And he's fulfilled. The kids have eaten. The wife is happy. There is peace in the land. You. And again, it's our generation that's suffering from these things. Mental health. You're on the pad. You're on a turn up. Like it's like we go over every day. Every day things are taking you, and I don't understand. And I think that that's the difference between generations, which I want to circle back to the thing that you say, where I'm saying that I'm asking parents, I'm saying, listen, if the kid wants to play football, let them play football. If they want to swim, let them swim. Get them numeracy and literacy education. They need to know how to read and write, because that's how they're going to discover the world. The world is about reading and writing. They have to be able to write their own contracts, but to read books, because that's how that entire world is hidden from you. But they also have to be able to count, because that's how we interpret the world in mathematics, and that's how they do business. But beyond that, if you really think about it, if you have literacy and numeracy in our world today, you can teach yourself anything, and the internet. What school does is it sort of structures and disciplines your mind to sort of, get into particular topics. But when you really think about it, if there's anything you want to learn, you can learn it. And you don't have to learn it in a structured format. If you need to learn about hydrogen chloride, you Google the class, you learn about hydrogen chloride, because that's what you need to, to go do your work. If you need to learn about how to develop photos, there is courses on literally everything in the world. And I think that as the world changes and it grows, we're going to become more sort of task-based, knowledge-oriented. We're going to require the knowledge we need to do our tasks today, instead of learning a whole bunch of stuff and then coming back and saying, okay, am I going to do photosynthesis today? But I'm never going to use the photosynthesis. Root tubers and legumes and soil nitrification. Nah.
No, that's true. I think we're at that exact break point, where we realize the education system that was designed to power the Industrial Revolution cannot work today, right?
That's very smart.
Sometimes we try to sound clever.
That's very smart.
No, but I think we are at that place here where you realize, I can do coding, but then I have to pick up some film skills if I want to do my podcast. I have to, exactly. So that in the end, I don't care if my kid knows photosynthesis. If he knows, a little Python and a little audio engineering, we can work together. If I have a podcast business, then
and that's how we're making money.
Exactly.
Yes.
True. The other thing is, again, sort of the last question was around policy, but the other thing that worries me a little bit about the film industry, and this is probably not specific to Uganda, is if you see right now, for example, music, right? It's a little bit cheaper to make compared to films, right?
Yes.
Making quality music versus making quality films. But for you to make money back from music, you have to make music that doesn't offend a certain kind of people in the country. And this is, again, not specific to Uganda, it's almost everywhere, In film, the incentive for me to spend, say, 300 million, on a project, and I know it's a little bit controversial. So I'm writing about election rigging, and it's a fiction movie, but I'm trying to just lay it on that, right? But that pisses off people, and so people ban my movie and end up making a 300 million shilling loss. Sort of in the political situation we have, right? In where it is now becoming clearer that freedom of speech, sort of speaking freely, is going to be stamped on. You have to say certain things that certain people want to hear.
Yes.
Don't you think that there's a big threat right now to how the revolution of content creating, especially expensive content like film?
I mean, I guess this is why you called me here. This is the big conversation.
Yeah, true.
dang. So I have to sort of work through it, but I'll take it in bits, yeah. Obviously, from a professional level, I think that because we live in a society without rules, we're all just animals.
Yeah.
So on in a certain level, in terms of order, we are bound to sort of abide and live by mutually agreed rules and stipulations. That's what governs our society, our order. But I'm just thinking about it in terms of what you said. Is an unstable environment a great place for a burgeoning film industry? No. So obviously there are gonna be issues like this. They're gonna be people will not be willing, because these people are money makers, they're capitalists, filmmakers, and they're gonna say, listen, I don't want to do this if I'm gonna lose all my money, and that's true, and that's correct, and that's verifiable, and I completely agree with that. You shouldn't ever put your investment in an unsure environment. That being said, the inner me, the Spartacus inside. Because me, I'm like a rebel. I'm all about like disrupting shit.
Yeah.
I think be willing. So. Lake Dube, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, like times and tyrannical or autocratic regimes have always been fought by our artists, and here's why: because what art does, music, film, what those things do. Sembeno's money out of Senegal. What those things do is they create visions of what's possible in people's minds. And if people believe it's possible, then they can aspire to it. So if you think about all the music against apartheid in the 90s, in the 80s into the 90s is what sort of collapsed the regime, because people just played the music across the world, everywhere, and no one had anything to say about it. And that was true for apartheid, but it was also true for the regimes in Nigeria. But also Ngugi wa Thiong'o was when he wrote this really interesting book called Amari When I Want, and it's a play, but it's set right in the heart of Kenya's colonial era, and it's a very interesting take on sort of the dynamics and people who sit in that space during and post-colonial sort of the era, and I because of those people and the example that they have set, and I very much believe in standing on the shoulders of giants. I think that there is a role for artists. You have yes,
I agree.
So yes, we have to abide by rules. But yes, we also have a responsibility to our people, our culture, and our time. Because the thing we don't want is for someone to come back and say, Dad, what were you doing when this place was going to hell?
True. I totally agree. One of the other things, again, let's get it like hard stuff out so we can get to a good conversation. One of the other things that is sort of coming on the verge is streaming, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Netflix is here, for example.
Yes.
So I subscribe. Let me actually first rant before I even get to that. So, what is with the sales people at DSTV? Since you're here, now let me.
Wow.
Let me tell you myself.
Okay.
So here's the thing, right? I switched from DSTV to Showmax. Because again, mostly for me, I used to watch football, and it's there. And now I can watch some of that HBO stuff. So you guys have the HBO stuff.
We have a whole HBO collection. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. Until now, we even cut the first 11,000.
I know. Recently, they gave me even a deal for 3 months for free. So I'm still enjoying that. So I'm on Showmax now, right? But I get, so it has been, this is my third month. I think I have like 2 days left. For these 3 months, every month, a guy calls me from DSTV. a guy already, just so you don't fire people because of the podcast. and we have this exact conversation. So, okay, the first time I think it had been a while since I'd not subscribed to DSTV. So it was the first time I was like, hey, are you okay? Your DSTV is not working. Blah, blah. I'm like,
you have an issue.
I'm like, I don't know, things are fine. When do you expect to? I'm like, okay, maybe it's a catastrophic thing because of it. Then the next month. Yeah, so the third month, when someone calls me, I'm not going to specify the gender. I was playing FIFA. I was with the boys at home playing FIFA. And, I picked up and some reason the guy was playing stopped and paused the game. So I'm hearing she's very patient. She's like, she's like, okay. I'm like, so then I tell her, in a nice way, sort of, for her to know that I'm not, I know the call, I don't want to talk, I just don't want to hang up on you.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm busy right now. Can you what? And she asked me, what are you doing?
You were like, God.
I'm like, okay, I'm about to walk into a meeting. And then she asked me, when should I call you back? Yeah, so there is
I really have to have this conversation with her. So listen. Yeah. So I mean, like the pay TV business is about acquiring new customers. It's also about retaining customers. True. And part of retaining customers. So our surveys say, and what we've seen is our surveys say that many customers need to be reminded. This is not stuff that we made up. A lot of customers, so if you pay it on a regular basis, you have your DSTV number saved in your phone. You sort of know the things. But if you go 2-3 months, you forget where the card is, you forget those things. And many times the calls. So the calls are part of getting customers to come back into the business and sort of enjoy the service. But sometimes it helps when you're having conversations like this, say, listen, you know what, I migrated to Showmax, I've got all the stuff I need. And that sort of tends to sort of clarify for them, because what all they have is a file, and they say, there's a guy here who's doing this. Yeah. This guy hasn't come back. When we called him last time, he was polite, but he was non-committal. When we did this, the other time we called him, we gave you an offer, we told him, pay this month, we'll give you another month. He came back, so he's quite likely, So it's either financial hardship or whatever. But many times the reason why guys are insistent is because they say, things could have been changed. Things could have changed. He could have been going through something, but maybe he got some money now. So let's talk to him and see. And that is. I mean, that's the model. That's how we work it. That's what you do, because that's how you get. Until we get to a point where all our customers then have the DSTV app and they can just simply go in 2 minutes, change their account, upgrade. Like, until you get to that point,
you always assume they may need help. I totally agree. So okay, now let's move on to the streaming bit, right? First of all, why is there no premium stuff on Showmax?
You brought me here. You dragged me across town. Come ask me these questions. I want to report you.
The only reason I get premium for me is that period of the Oscars. I usually don't want people to ruin for me the actors. Apart from this specific year, I didn't know most of the movies this year for some reason. But I follow a lot.
Are you a movie person?
I am a movie person. I'm a big time movie person.
So top 5 movies.
The Dark Knight. That is.
The trilogy or just the
Dark Knight? No, just the Dark Knight. The second one. The second one only. That is my favorite. One that comes to my head right now that I watched and I was so impressed is The Father. I don't know if you've watched The Father.
The Father is very new.
So it's moving. It's about sort of deteriorating mental health.
Yes.
It's a movie that was really
it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's totally good. So I'll put that on second, and I think because it's just a very, very fresh memory.
Very recent.
Yeah. I also liked Interstellar. I'm also a big fan of Christopher Nolan. So
I'm going to speak into that in a second.
So if there's too many movies of his, I like
Interstellar.
I liked.
Absolutely, I love Interstellar.
Yeah, Interstellar.
I thought it was very beautiful. I thought the story is very nice. I really think that he owes us a sequel, but that's just me.
I really doubt that.
He left us just there. Man, Interstellar was nice. It was nice.
Which movie? Yeah, I'm forgetting which one would be. I don't want to say shitty movie so people judge me. So I'm right to think.
People will say that guy on the podcast likes shitty movie.
Yeah, so I liked this thing by Torrentino. The first one he did, Pulp Fiction. No, I like
Pulp Fiction's really nice.
I liked Pulp Fiction.
I actually like a lot of Tarantino films. I have a bias towards Nolan and Tarantino. So I was going to say that back when we were young, people used to watch movies for the leading men or the leading ladies. You know, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt. Yeah, you know, you sort of came from that Stallone, Schwarzenegger. But now we're in the age where people go to watch movies because it's a Christopher Nolan movie. And it doesn't matter who he has cast.
Exactly. Yeah. True,
people.
True.
I mean, I was like, you see Tenet and you think, you know, John David Washington, like, you know, he's new, he's a fresh face. But you know what? It's Christopher Nolan. I have trust in the director. This guy can be out here messing up our vision, but me and the director, we are in sync. And that's also the world we live in now. So it's if you think about it, it's why I guess sometimes you can have an average song, but then Sasha Vibes shoots your music video, and they just say Sasha Vibes all of a sudden million hits. True, because it's like that. It's the producer of your song, and more again, which is what I was saying before about customers, that people want to see more. They like the artist, but they really want to know who did that costume. And so now we should sort of see how brands unveil and say, you know, tabs on the camera, or you know, Nino Jack or whoever shot you photo credit, who did the makeup, face beat by so and so, dressed by this, like, and they have a whole list on their Instagram. But it makes sense because, you know, sort of we're not just about the final product, we're also about deconstructing it in our minds and working around that. But the initial question you're asking is, why is there no sports on?
No, there's sports. There's some sports. There's
So we've got two types of. So you know this probably. We've got Showmax Entertainment. Yeah. And then we've got Showmax Pro.
Yeah.
And so what Showmax Pro has? So Showmax Pro has a relatively, you know, good collection of sports, because you've got, I think you get the Tour de France, you get La Liga, you get Serie A, you get the Premier League, I think.
Yeah, and I think you also get some ATP.
You get some ATP. You get tennis. You get MotoGP. And a couple of other sports. So there are three sports that you don't get, and this is because they cost like a bomb.
That's my.
So you don't get Formula One, you don't get golf, and you don't get rugby. And you don't get those things because South Africa is a rugby watching nation. If you put the rugby on the Showmax, everyone will leave. So you have to leave it on the service. That's why
that makes sense. I think there's also that risk for piracy, you know, on like.
No. So we don't have. So part of the group is we've got a whole company that just designs our encryption software. Yeah, there's a whole part of the business that designs and encrypts all our stuff.
I see.
From decoders, which is why you can't hack them.
Decoders,
but also the online streaming. And I think it was very, very clear. But so for example, but even a lot of our local content, it goes on there because we realize people want to stream this stuff. But can you have, because even Netflix doesn't have all the titles you want. Yeah. But if you have content and titles that people like, they'll come in for them, they'll enjoy them. But the stuff that we have, the stuff that we produce ourselves as Mnet and the multi-choice, you keep that there. And people get into all that stuff. They enjoy the HBO, they get into Line of Duty, and they can't come. Because another thing is that those British series, man. British series, 59 minutes. But you're like this. Yeah. If you blink, exactly. You miss the bad guy.
And that is, I think, for me, why it was very obvious. It's like you designed Showmax to chase me away from.
No. So listen. It's. But I think I was also realizing from the business side that listen, things are changing, man. The world's changing. And things are moving quickly, and we're keen in as the customer changes. So I wanted to say two things about. So I told you about how customers now don't just want the main actor; they also want the producer. The guys who just go and download movie scores, the entire official soundtrack, and they just listen to that, and because that's who they are. But also customers are moving away from in places in sort of middle income families. We're seeing people moving away from the idea of linear TV. Yeah. Because I don't wanna be like, if I can't watch the game, I don't want to be able to miss the deal because I can't watch the game. No, I want to go strike the deal, come back and watch the game, and stream whenever I want, and catch the news and dial into the news or go into a movie. I see a movie because that was the biggest problem. Is like you're finishing Die Hard 4.0 here, but on the other side, your favorite movie is about to start, but you're like, I really like this ending, but I'm gonna miss it. So that was always the thing. And so obviously, the initial fix for this is the PVR, which allows you to record and rewind and replay. But then eventually the idea is it's gonna have to sit around streaming. The idea that you can play anything you want whenever you want. Yeah. And I think but you also, there are certain things that have to remain on linear TV because there are certain households that sort of gather around 8 p.m. It's time for Sanyu. Everyone knows, and then they're gonna watch Sanyu, and then they're gonna watch Prestige, then they're gonna go into news, and that's where we want to go. I think that would be the
I see. So since you guys are going in streaming, is there a hope that DSTV is going to become an ISP anytime soon?
I know
Elon Musk may beat you guys to that.
That big. It's big. It's not that big.
I see.
No, I mean I haven't personally had anything about, but I have had that. I think there was a rumor in the market that was going to happen, but this is years ago. This is years ago. But then so it's definitely because we're in the content production business. We're not in the content distribution business. We're not in the, because the whole ISP thing, you need the telco license, then you need to land infrastructure, and those things take time. I think that as a business we remain focused on doing what we're good at. And what we're good at is providing great entertainment, great local content,
true.
and the world's best sports.
I see. So, what about local sports, for example? Is there room for?
Yeah. So obviously, as part of the brands that we do that we're interested in, there has been conversations, but right now we haven't had the opportunity to sort of break in. We're keen. We think that we could try. But we remain optimistic. I think we continue to work towards a place where the brands, both the DSTV and GoTV brands, can blend in with local communities and can do impactful partnerships with sports brands. And I think we have a few things in the offing that will definitely put together.
So one thing, a few days back, I listened to Arsene Wenger saying, sort of when there was this whole controversy of the Super League and whatnot. And so
by the way, the Super League.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the Super League. Okay, let's start there. What
I tell you, bruh?
What did that mean for you?
Those 48 hours were so long, homie. They were so long.
Yeah,
that was a hectic time.
So you tell me, how does this affect you? How does the Super League affect you?
So first of all,
I want some money for Arsenal. I'm going to be very straightforward.
I know. I know you want some money for Arsenal. So first of all, so you come, you pay the FA Cup, the English, the FA. You say, I want the teams. The teams you've paid for have all left. The new league they've gone to, no one has the rights. So who will air what they're saying?
Yeah.
And yes, you've assured them that they have money. But then now they're saying their players cannot play in national teams. They cannot play in the Champions League. So guys are just like, what do you mean? You mean people can just? I think this. So I was upset because I felt like because like all of Europe's best teams. So I was just like, so now all this football that I have, like, and then, of course there are guys like you who will follow Arsenal anyway. So I'm just like, these guys are trying to kill me, man. And I don't need this. This is not what I need. So I think the pressure was there. It was touch and go there for a minute. But yes, I think on a larger level it was about sort of how the sport has been built and how these teams continue to support communities in which they work and what they do. So I think that's part of what shaped that story for us.
I see. And in terms of like the the football bit of it, the competitiveness. Do you think that this was still okay? So for me, I'm undivided. Let me say this, right. When Wenger was doing the Wenger thing,
when he was
when he was training Arsenal, and he explained this actually. I think the same conversation. He mentioned Arsenal reached a point where their priority was not to stay big team, but to play off the pitch, right? So they had a big debt for building.
The Emirates.
Yes. And that was more important. So
it became a business.
Exactly. And so it made sense even to him, because when the top guys speak to him that this is a strategy we are taking, build the players and we sell them off. And we're not going to invest in acquiring like big name players.
Yes. But you just need to ensure you're in the top 4 every season.
Exactly. So it says all that, and it makes sense. It says it made sense. But I think the last 2 years, where the pressure was too much, the big guys on top underestimated how long it would take to recover after now you paid off the debt. How long does it take to get back to become a big team? So that's
but also if you take the strategy for too long, for such a long time, you forget what it means to be a big boy. And now there are new guys, there's young blood, there's pressure everywhere. You guys, like back in the day, Wenger's time, like Spurs Arsenal was a big game because it was a derby, but you always knew, out of 10 times, Arsenal 8 times. Nowadays it is Chiboko. It is. I'm going to report you to man. Like it's so, like it's, and I think that but it's exactly what I was saying is sometimes you forget what it is to be great, and it's good to rest. It's good to take a break, to step away, But I think that you have to be careful that you don't forget how to be great. And this is why I'm so worried about this LeBron story and him being out and what. Because I'm just like, dude, you were number one. Like if you, like maybe if you bounce back, then, but sometimes small things like this, you forget what it's like to be the one everyone's chasing. And that, I think, in my mind, diminishes some of your greatness.
No, I see. I totally agree. One of the from that same conversation, one of the other things that Wenger was saying is his vision for like future of sports is because of, again, if you look at the data on attention span, if you look, say for example, the success of TikTok, right? If you look at that data, he assumes in the future there will be less and less people, and I don't know how right this is, willing to put in the time to watch the full
game,
match.
90 minutes.
And so they'll be interested in highlights. And they could be like sort of live-ish highlights, Manu scores, and you get a notification on your phone.
And you go in, you see the build-up, exactly, and then you back out. Yes.
And he was mentioning this, and coincidentally, and I don't know if this Wenger tipped you guys off, but coincidentally, usually, so when I don't watch a match, say those matches that are late in the night, I come to my computer in the morning, Google has like a thing for the and usually it takes me to YouTube.
Yes.
But recently, it is taking me to the Sport website. So I'm like, these guys listen to Wenger and they pull out their content from YouTube.
Wow. So it's also we're learning more and more about how the digital universe works and how to sort of leverage the things that are unique to you. And I think what SuperSport is doing, I can't say that I'm speaking for them. I don't speak for them. But it makes, think about it. It will make sense to sort of leverage your comparative advantage and sort of bring that into the fore. Because if you bring more people into the SuperSport website, more people subscribe. They so eventually, I guess you just sort of you spin it off, and people can just you love sports. You just pay for
exactly.
For your
no.
And you just make some money. I'm guessing. I don't know. I have no idea. But I guess that's the. So you can still have the blended experience again, because kids, family, balanced view. Or hardcore fans, you're a sports guy, you're a reporter, you need that 24-hour access. Or you're a hardcore betting guy, you need the live result every time. So omanyenti omuyinda akukubi.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Let's talk about sports betting. I feel like you guys are the what? No, like cigarettes. You guys are the
enablers.
Yeah.
No. We are a wholesome family entertainment business.
I see.
We're nowhere near. And don't get me wrong. Like I think that if you're above 18 and you have your money, you should have the right to make the decisions you make. But I think that personally, my views on that are. You gotta be careful. It's always a gamble. It's always a gamble. Some days you win, but many times you lose, because that's how the structure is set up, that more people will lose than win. So you may be going through a winning streak, and that's okay, but just know that 9 out of the other 10 guys who you are with in the subset are losing, so you can win. And I think that on a grand scale, eventually the odds sort of balance out. But what we've seen with the evolution of betting is also that it's sort of gone away from the betting houses and become mobile. It's on your phone. You take the app and the odds come to you directly, and you talk to a guy like, this is what, and of course now on Twitter, Facebook, there's guys with odds on Telegram. Guy tells you, I have the odds, sure win. And they're always beating you, my friend. This is how I know, because one time I went there. That's all I'm gonna say about this.
Wait, but I've also heard this sure win thing, especially for non-prominent leagues, it's not far-fetched. I've heard that there's actual match fixing. People actually pay the right people within the pitch or around the stadium to make sure that the result is predictable.
So that's true. So there's a whole. I think I don't know where it is. I'm trying to remember. There's a whole scandal about this in Italy. I think in the 90s. I think.
Is it when there's a time when Juve was sent back to? Isn't it the same thing?
Yes, when they were demoted because of these things. So And there have been a couple of scandals, and they were in. I think they were in Italian football. That guy, what's his name? I think Paul Gascoigne as well in the EPL. I think I think a couple of leagues have had these issues, but also I think that the issues are a result of the vagaries of life. It's greed. It's the search for money. And sometimes it's just a mob boss who says, I want to make money in football. Break some legs, bribe some guys, let's get rich. And that's not an admirable thing. I think that it's despicable, because what it does is because what sports brings out in us is that idea of fair play and competitiveness, which is important. But whenever you have lopsided interests, and it was also a scandal in American basketball as well, because I've been listening to a podcast called Whistleblower, and they were talking about this and how the refs were involved in sort of skewing games and ensuring that all player finals have to go to Game 7, because so you see if there is an order of magnitude every time the playoffs go from Game 5 to Game 6 to Game 7. So your job as a ref was to ensure, and it was a really interesting deep dive into that world, and say the machine, the NBA machine, was sort of to say ensuring that you can drive the game to Game 7, because that's when you make money. Because Game 7s have more pressure, you sell more merchandise, you sell more tickets. the payoff is bigger. Because if you're finishing, if it's a sweep, you don't make money.
I see. Yeah, no, that I think that makes sense. I remember the Tyson thing where people were furious that the guy he knocked out the. I don't know which fight that was. When I was still a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, like
guys hadn't even sat.
People were sitting at the
round, that 10-second, round. Yeah. So I think that when you think about it, that thing that you said about sort of digitization of sports and making it more personal, I think that the algorithm is going to continue to do that, to select for you the stuff you're interested in, because it's more personalized to you. So you get the highlights you want. You get the, you're able to say, you know what, I want to be able to see the highlights of this season. I want to see all of, Thierry Henry's goals. And if you start to see that, I think that it becomes more personal, it becomes more engaging. Because again, if you think about the amount of attention you have, you don't have time to watch a 3-hour documentary on all of Arsenal's games, but you're really interested in Thierry Henry, so we're able to pull that out and make that for you. I think that's where we're definitely going to go, in a place that's more customized, more personalized for customers. But not just customers, even in the world, like people who are interested in cars should only watch what they're interested in.
I see.
If you don't want to see Segrinya, you don't have to see Segrinya.
No, I agree, and I think, the advantages and disadvantages, obviously.
Yes.
The obvious disadvantage is you can get locked into your own virtual universe.
What they call those echo chambers.
Yeah, exactly.
You get locked into those.
Yeah. So let's move on a little bit now. Let's talk about Spartacus. And I've read the pinned tweet you have on your Twitter, and how you laid down the Spartacus philosophy. I was like, is this man trying to conquer the world now? What is going on here?
No.
So what is it? Is this like the Spartan? Is this like a philosophy, like stoicism?
Yes.
Is it? Tell me about it. Convert me.
I'm ready. So part of what it is not. So this is such a long story because.
We have the time. Do we have the time?
Oh my God, it's time. So, oh my God, this is a really so. So the philosophy is called the Bismuth Philosophy.
Bismuth.
Yes, Bismuth. Okay. And the Bismuth Philosophy is, if you're willing to absolutely do your very best and leave it all out on the field, you live a life without regret. But to do that in a world that's full of, so I think that we're finding ourselves more and more in a world that's more inward looking. People care about what they think, they care about who they are, but because they do that, then they also carry with them all those limitations that come with being inward looking. There is less hope. There is more vanity. There is
anxiety.
There's anxiety. There's depression. There's all those things. But I realized many years ago that, well, not many years ago now, but a couple of years ago that we were built. As human beings, every human being has what you call the God spark in them. If it's true that you're made in God's image, or whatever you believe, if you believe in intelligent design.
Yeah.
Aha!
That's good.
So, you can be evolution, but if you believe in intelligent design, then you believe that there's an element of the divine in you. Mm-hmm. And if you believe that, the best way to honor that is to live a life that allows you to aspire to that. So don't get me wrong, I'm not like very religious, I'm not like a church going person.
Yeah.
But I believe that we must live a life of honor, a life of duty, a life of endurance. Because let me tell you what I say. Human beings have suffered for upwards of 65 million years, 6.5 billion years, fighting off the elements. I mean, you think about the first people, like everything we've done, apart from the last 50 years, the only thing human beings were trying to do was fight off animals, make sure their children are not eaten, and fight off the elements. Like,
What are the elements? Sorry.
the elements. This is weather,
I see.
flooding, cold, drought,
Natural stuff,
cows dying, like that unpredictability. It was so, and this is why. So, for example, when you think about human beings, mothers, once children are born, there's a part of the mother's brain that listens to sound that becomes hyper attuned to that sound because mothers in the early days just got tired of their babies being stolen and snatched by animals, so they get hyper sensitive to that. But also human beings, so human beings have, with only animals that have trichromatic eyesight, because we're able to see all the full range of colors. Most animals have bichromatic eyesight because they're not worried about that stuff. So we need to be able to see snakes in green, which is why green is like the color that we see the most range of. You have to be able to see snakes because those are predators. We evolved to detect predators, but also to differentiate between ripe fruit and raw fruit, because raw fruit is dangerous and ripe fruit is where nourishment comes from. So anyway, so I'm going a bit back because I want to step a bit back and then come back into it. And so, and if you agree that a good life, a good decent life, has a healthy balance of hard work and suffering, and it has occasional periods of rest, because to live is to suffer. Our very nature, every day we struggle with, that's where you find fulfillment. And we find fulfillment because, again, we're created to create. And every time we contribute, every time we do something, we add to what's existing. So like you podcast guys, this is what you're doing, and there is fulfillment in this. And if you die today, you may not have done everything you did, but your last thought will be like, you know what, God damn, I did something.
I see.
Otherwise, and otherwise, people sort of live unfulfilled lives. They live, and it's okay. It's fine. It's fine to just live a useless life. But yeah, like we have to, because again, we are in the age of inclusivity, and we have to accommodate everyone. But so knowing that, then for me the idea was to try and do my absolute best, lay it all on the field, leave nothing behind. And this is gigging, working, hustle, growth, sort of to experience it all. And when you take that view, people say, but you'll never focus on anything. But the truth is, when you take it all in, then your energy rises to meet the vision and the ambition that you've set. And that's sort of how I see it. That's sort of how I've seen it. So to always be, if we go, we're full 100, or we don't go at all. Do nothing in half measures, But the aspiration, again, so what those things are just the sort of the way, the how, but that is in service of the higher goal to live an honorable life, to live by the Spartan code, to live like every day is your last, to give generously, to love unreservedly, so that people know when they say that guy is in my corner, he's in my, like I see. There will be no doubt. People in your life have to know where they stand with you. They have to know, like, you know what, if that guy says he'll go to fight for me, he'll go to fight for me, he'll go to bat for me. But if me and that guy are fallen out, we've fallen out. Like, if you die, I'm not going to be out there whitewashing your whole, fuckery, or like your whole, like your whole like misdeeds. And I find that to be a very prevalent sort of element of our culture. The idea of sort of sanitizing people who lived reckless lives, or people's misdeeds, and people don't want to call them out. Like, if you call them out in life, you must call them out in death. And I think that The more we do that, the more our generation does that, the more our parents' generation starts to think, you know what? I'm actually gonna mess up. I need to, because I think that people live recklessly. It's like, after all, when I'm gone, You're like, yeah, but like, you're not gonna have a name. No one's gonna remember you. And so if you sort of, if my vision about it is right, it's that live an honorable life, live a life that I'll be proud of, and say, you know what, I gave it all up. I did what I could. I helped who I could. I was never afraid of hardship. I was never afraid of, because I'm not afraid of hard work. And that's what the Bismuth is. The Bismuth is to say, if you call that guy in, that guy is the cavalry. He's the Navy SEALs. He is the shit. He will get it done. And when you think of, and I think that's the thing. That's at the heart of it. To be the guy who gets it done. Now, many times you fail. You fail because you don't yet have the discipline. Your health isn't right. Your money isn't correct. But you start with the mindset. You sort of say, these are the things I'm going to do, and these are the things I'm going to expand into, and this is who I'm going to be. But then, as you sort of get better at your small pockets of skill sets, and your as you work around your money, and you work around sort of your mindsets and your goals, then you become the guy. You become the guy who can get it done. And in your mind, then you know that. I mean, you have to think about. We all have 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But in that same 24 hours, you have me and you have Elon Musk.
I agree.
Yeah. The guy who says, I'm going to take us to Mars. And the guy's like, not in 20 years. He's like, bet in 10. Boom. And I think that it's about that mental rigor. Because he's seen his vision and he's chasing it and he's leaving nothing behind. And when he goes, he's going to say, you know what? I did everything that I could. And yes, so maybe he got wealthy, but don't get me wrong. So you have to look at it like this, and people think this is sort of a meninist agenda, but it isn't. And I like to say to guys, 60% of all men who lived did not reproduce across time. 60% of all men who ever lived, there were men who they grew up as boys, hard boys. They became soldiers. They defended their cities. They became farmers. They were sailors, and then they died. They never got any pussy. They never reproduced. They never had children. Yeah. Like when you think about the idea of manhood, and I think about that. I think about that idea that you could live and die and leave nothing behind, and all you had was the honor that you lived by, or the code that you lived by in your lifetime. Because remember, we like to think we're extraordinary, you're the difference, but 60%, my friend.
No,
today, average age of sexual debut in China for men is 39.
Yeah.
For men is 34, women is 39. That means there are guys who are going to live their entire lives and die. Without reproducing, and therefore, then when you ask me, what are you leaving behind? The correct answer isn't children. Because all the men who came before me, more of them didn't leave children than left children. But what did they do? They built cities. They defended civilizations. They fought for their tribes. They grew food. They migrated 100,000 kilometers from the Congo Basin and moved into Uganda. Some of them moved from as far as the Horn of Africa and moved here. You really think that you can fight invading tribes and fight off lions and disease, and guys die, and you're not willing to say, you know what, men have a role to play in society? Because if all men were just like, you know what, I have nothing to give, stuff this, I'm gone, 2 blocks out of this game. And so you find that there is a role sort of for men and culture in society where they have a responsibility to live an honorable life of endurance and contribution to society. And so the correct answer to the question, what did you leave behind, isn't your kids. It's to contribute generously and deliberately to the culture in which you are by sort of giving your best to that.
Oh, I see. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that was good. So yeah, let me first.
That's sort of where I come from.
Yeah,
so that's my
I
universe. And so 2006 is when I started calling myself Spartacus, but that was at the time we were blogging. So some of you guys are like out here microblogging, tweeting. Us, we were on Blogspot. OG, triple OG, my friend.
Yeah.
So we started out there, and I think in 2008, 2009 is when I opened my first Twitter account, and I always knew I wanted to be Spartacus. I always knew, I've always wanted to be. It's been my only handle. It's the only handle I've ever had. I've always wanted to be Spartacus UG, and but it fits within the Spartan code, and it fits within the Bismuth philosophy. So that's,
well, do you find like any challenges, most people say work-life balance, sort of having like a professional life or like a personal life, or does that line for you doesn't exist?
No, guys, the work-life balance thing is a myth. It's work balance. It's between working in the office and working at home. Again, it's there is no days off, bro. Because listen, like, people want to tell you, you know what, my mental health, like, I this is very controversial, and I have been thinking it. I don't necessarily, like, it's sort of a theory I'm testing. I'm like, but guys, like there are some people who have mental health issues and some people who don't have mental health issues, and they're all going through the same problems. Do you think that because when our parents were growing up, certain people were challenged with infertility, and that's how sort of their sort of lineages were cut off. Maybe this is like we're facing a really difficult world, and the world is not an easy place. It's a difficult, hard place, and they'll beat you to the ground and will just not let you get up. But and I think about it like that. I think that you must be willing to do whatever it takes.
I see.
And whatever it takes is not so much. So you see, there was a time when the work-life balance idea comes from the fact that your life balance is your family and your all of that, and your personal life, and then your work life is your thing from which you get income. But the reality is, everything you do now is work. Even with your family, taking your wife out to dinner and spending time with your kids, that's work. You're putting in the work into that relationship, hanging out with your friends. Because if you don't hang out with your friends for 6 months, they're going to move on. They're going to be like, that guy, stuff it. We're never talking to him again. So there is no work-life balance. It's work. Because you're either putting in work for monetary gain to get paid, which is what you do, but you're putting in work to make relationships better. You're putting in work to sort of create environments that are great for your kids. So the reason I don't see that, but I do have to say that if you're willing to go the distance, you'll achieve things that a lot of your peers have only dreamed about. Because you are willing to be ridiculously obsessed with the thing that you do, and they always and I think that when you sort of frame it like that, it sits again in the Bismuth philosophy, to leave no stone unturned, to never give up, never give in, to be willing to die, because when you approach that point, you find clarity. And that clarity then is not the things that people around you see. That clarity ties exactly into your purpose, what you do, why you wake up every morning, and that drives you. It never stops.
Well, I see. So I've read a little bit about, say, the Stoic philosophy, and I feel like this Bismuth philosophy is more of like the extreme version of Stoicism. So the Stoics are, say enjoy the good times, but also embrace the bad, right? But it's not much about go out and achieve, everything, and I feel like that is.
It's about take it all in. And no, I think that you have to. You've got to be able to. The world requires shaping. It requires men with big egos and calloused hands. I think that you have to be able to shape it, but you can't shape it if you always let it sort of control your outcome. You have to be and once you know that this is how we shape the world. We're gonna put our hands in the mud. We're gonna get dirty, and our hands are gonna get calloused. But if at the end we have a statue, we have a pyramid, you guys, you think the guy who built the pyramid, when it was done, that guy was like, "Hot day." Well, he didn't know it was 5,000 years.
There were rumors that there were aliens, but
you are those people. No. But yeah, I mean, you think about it. You think about building things that will last 5,000 years, and I think that it gives you perspective, because then you start to understand that our 80 years, 70, 80, 90 years, our time here is limited. It means nothing.
Yeah.
And so you owe it to yourself to do your absolute best. You have to try. You have to try. Otherwise, you're just a footnote in a history book that doesn't matter.
I see. No, I think I agree. I agree a lot. Yeah. Let me just ask this, as we conclude even. Is there like a specific like legacy thing you think, like something material, something like tangible that you think if you achieved it or if you built it, you'd be like, yeah, Spartacus, this is my life today. I can officially say it was. Or is there that like legacy thing,
So the story we're just talking about, so the Spartacus story. So the original story of Spartacus was that so there during the Greek wars, early on, as the Greeks were still ruled by the Romans, he led the slave revolts, the third Greek slave revolts. And he was a slave, so he was just a guy, and he sort of stood up and said, "You know what, stuff this, I'm gonna revolt." He led the revolt, and for a time there was peace, and his life he was a slave, led a revolt, became a leader, and died. Lived and died, and when you think about that, so when you think about him in the context of history, he's not greater than Julius Caesar. He's not greater than Alexander the Great. He's not Genghis Khan. In fact, in most historical stories, Spartacus is just a footnote. So they mention him, they put an asterisk. You go in the back in the glossary, that's when you read his story. But And this is why it was so admirable for me. But for the people he freed, the people who lived in his time, he was everything. He brought light, he showed courage, he lived with honor. And when I think about that, that's sort of, I'm not gonna be the Alexander the Great of our time. I know that because the things that you already know when you're as old as I am, the things that you're gonna be. But you agree that in your time, the lives that you touch and the people you come in contact with, whether you free them from slavery or you create something that changes their lives, or you just work diligently to change the world. Even if you're a footnote in history, you have to strive to touch and positively change the lives of people around you. Because of that mindset, maybe the goal isn't something tangible.
I see.
The goal is to live a life that's truthful, that's forthright. That people will say, you know what, being in that person's life, being in their orbit, was a life well lived. Yeah. And for me, maybe that's all I'm looking for.
True. It's
because I always say to my friends that the world needs a little bit more truth. It needs a little more truth. not a lot, because a lot of truth will destroy us, but a little more truth. We need to be a little more honest with our parents' generation.
Yeah.
We need to be honest with the generation of women around us. I think that a lot of things have changed in the male-female dynamic that's happening, and that's because a lot of people are sort of suffering and saying, oh, I'm doing this because I'm expected to be a man, but they don't want to say, listen, if you want to do that, you should, you can't enjoy the privileges without taking the responsibility. So you've got to be able to, and I think that idea of a little more truth, I think sort of guides and becomes an undercurrent in the decisions and the worldview that you have.
Yeah, no, I think I agree a lot. That you didn't say it, but you attacked the feminists. They're small. But
I'm at Bellwether. Come and beat me.
But okay, I think that's a very strong point to wrap the conversation.
Yes, I think
this was a very good conversation.
Thank you very much. It was a very big conversation. We laid me subtle questions, like Mortal Kombat, different locations. I almost experienced a fatality there, but I'm a hard guy.
Yeah, no, you are. I agree. I don't agree. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored. Thank you for hosting me.
Thanks.
It was such a delight to sort of come share with you, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this. To your listeners, thank you very much for the time. And again, as I said, as we started out in the beginning, the format is going to grow. It's only going to expand. It's not going to change. So I look forward to your success and your continued growth.
Thank you.
And I'll remain a big fan.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for those kind words.
Thank you.
Yeah.